Well, whenever I think of a Trojan horse associated with free games, I think of something like this. However, Epic Games thought of something like this. Greetings everyone! What a week this was for gaming, and more particularly for the RTS gaming genre, as a lot of people, including us here at Playful Cerberus, got a free copy of Troy, which is not technically a full RTS, but nonetheless, any signs of life from this genre are more than welcomed at this point in the gaming industry. And speaking of signs of life from the RTS genre, this week we actually had the pleasure to see gameplay from Iron Harvest, a new IP which looks promising, and has me excited because, as hinted in what I said up until now, having this much excitement over the RTS genre in 1 week is almost unprecedented in our current times. So, since I'm still an RTS nerd that is on the edge of reinstalling Command & Conquer from time to time, and gets upset every time he sees a beloved RTS series turned into a mobile game, this barking news we will have a more general talk about Troy, Epic Game Store, Iron Harvest, and the RTS genre in general. Okay, we have Troy, so let's play some Troy while I share my thoughts on the internet. Now, first of all, this will not be a review of Troy. As mentioned, it will be more of a general discussion. However, we will prepare an in-depth review about the game as well, so stay tuned for that. Until then, I think it's pretty important to point out that Epic Game Store is starting to grow on me. Now, I'm not the biggest fan out there, since I know this particular store has investments from this particular company, which usually has to obey to the whims of this particular regime. Nonetheless, their business model of free games is really starting to attract more and more people to this gaming platform. I mean, a free game from a renowned studio at its launch. That's awesome! Even though there was a limited window in which players could get the game for free. Now I know this is also a marketing campaign both on behalf of Epic Games and Creative Assembly. Nevertheless, it's still a free game, and I think at this point the business model in the gaming industry really is starting to shift, and what do I mean by that is that there's a new model in which there's an incentive to be pro-consumer, as in the end it generally seems like it's working out better for the companies that adopt this model. And this is apparent in other big companies as well, like Xbox's Game Pass, or the way CD Projekt Red promoted and handled the launch of Cyberpunk.
Uh-oh. Hello gents and ladies of the wide world web, let me just intervene a little bit and hijack this notion of free. My remark and concern here is that every time that a big company, no matter what that company is, throws us free stuff, I feel like there is an underlying reason behind that free product, and it always comes with some unwanted and unmentioned attachment. Now, I know that it's just me being skeptical at this moment, but I am certain that this employer marketing strategy that we are not seeing, and I hope that we will not be the victims of this pessimistic view of mine later. But until and if that moment comes, we can enjoy this quite good game at our own pace. And dinosaur. See ya later, gents, ladies, and give some thought about what I just said.
Yes, it is good to be skeptical and aware of business models, as they can degenerate into something else, even though at first they were very pro-consumer. But it's still nice to keep positive and hope that the better pro-consumer business model will eventually be the norm and replace the current model in which you get half a game and the other half you need to buy it with microtransaction. One can only hope and be positive. Speaking of positive, RTS games, well, this certainly is a nice change this week. Obviously, Troy took all the spotlights, and I got to admit, I really felt good finally playing a new strategy this year. Just to be clear, there are a few RTS games to choose from this year, like for example Stronghold Warlords or Age of Empires 4, but that's the point, there's only a few, and even worse, most of them are pretty small budget games. That's not to say that small budget RTS games can't be masterpieces, but it still means that this genre isn't attractive from a business perspective, and that is unfortunate for RTS fans. However, From time to time, some small glimmers of hope appear from the horizon, and interesting to pursue for some studios. Total War series is a very good example, but it's even more exciting when a new IP, like Iron Harvest, shows up. Well, finally, someone had the courage to develop a new IP in which there's this original mix of World War I look and feel with bulky looking mechs, so damn that looks good and interesting. So the gameplay published this week really looked pretty well polished, and let's hope they deliver it in the entire game exactly like that, when it will launch in September. And credit to the developers from King Art Games for having the courage to start this project in a gaming industry that's not particularly profitable for these kind of games. I hope this strategy game, with other releases this year, will create a bit more of a demand for RTS games in general. And since we had all this RTS talk, let's end this episode with a quote from Agamemnon, the king I chose to play with in Troy Total War. In war, the first casualty is truth.